Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 3 p.m. here in Chicago. That means it's time for another live stream. It is Thursday, January 21, 2021. I had to think about it for a second there. How's everybody doing today? It is happy hour since it is Thursday. Not that we made it to the end of the week, but we've almost made it to the end of the week. Today I'm going to be drinking a Surly Rocket Surgery Hazy Ale. I can't remember if I've had one of these before on a live stream, but it's what's in the fridge and it's tasty, and I thought that's what I'd want to drink for today, so that's what we're going to have. Quick note before I forget, there's more non-elite shirts available at Path Project, so that collab shirt is back in stock. It took a little while longer than they were initially kind of projecting, but they're here now. Hopefully you guys can pick one up if you missed out on it last time and wanted to get it. I think that, sorry, my hair's all over the place and it's giving me some problems, but I think what happened is they sent out the notifications to everyone that signed up for like the email waiting list, and then they released them onto their website as well. So they've been selling for the past, I think, maybe day, almost 2 days. There's still some left. I think a lot of the mediums, which is what I wear, I think a lot of the mediums are gone, but there still should be some. Maybe there was only a couple of larges when Flores last emailed me. Literally a couple left, and then I don't remember offhand about extra larges, but there are small and extra smalls, some of those left too. So if you guys want to pick some of those up, those are available. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about people on the podcast version listening in. Welcome. Hope you guys are having a good run out there, and everyone watching this on YouTube after the fact, welcome. I posted a link to Path Projects. It's just the pathprojects.com website in the description. So if you want to go check that out while supplies still last. I don't think that there's going to be another restock after this. So I think this will be the last time. So there we go. Let's see who's here today. We've got a lot of people in here already. Terrence is early, already drinking a double IPA. Awesome. Let's get this thing open. So the way I've had one of these before, I know off camera. It's called a Hazy Ale. It describes itself as uncomplicated and juicy. 5.5% alcohol by volume. By the Surly Brewing Company, Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is a tasty beer, and I think it's deceptive. Like based on like the way this can looks, I feel like this is going to be super bitter, almost like a double IPA, but it definitely doesn't taste like that. I'm getting the juiciness of it. But every time someone uses the word juicy to describe a beer, I kind of giggle because my brothers-in-law, they are bigger beer drinkers than I am, and their wives and my one brother-in-law is now engaged, and his fiance, they kind of the women always tease my brother-in-laws because they use the word juicy to describe a lot of beers all the time, and it's just one of those weird words. I feel like in the beer drinking community, juicy is like the equivalent of like glute activation. You could use it in almost any sentence. It doesn't really mean anything, but I guess to some people they understand what it is. But this is a juicy beer, and it's really tasty. I do like this one quite a bit. John is here. What's going on? Oh, I almost spilled it. Ooh, John is here. Terrence is here as well. I did run today. I tried to go up to the track. I was like, oh, I can get to a track easily from here. So I tried to go up to the track thinking, between today's Thursday, between Tuesday and Wednesday, there was some snow, but I feel like there's a lot of groups that run up there on Tuesday and Wednesdays. So I figured there might be like a lane shoveled that I can run on. I just want to do some strides to test out, do some testing on the Beacon 3. And I got there and there was a lane shoveled clear, the first lane, but it snowed over again. So I can't really do it there. So I did my strides along the lakefront path. So that was fine. But I did have a good run. It was warm. It was like freezing temperature, which is like the warmest I've run in a long time. Albert Lung is here, says hello. And let's see. What else we got here? We got Inez. And it says, hi, Kofuzi and everyone. Another 4 miles of Pip after work today to keep the mileage ticking along. Yeah, I mean, I saw the picture on Instagram today. It looks like Pip is like very excited, or like the dog looked happy to be out there running again. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading a lot into that, but that's kind of like what I was getting from the photo. So it looks like it was a happy day. Let's see what else we got. Scroll down. Chris Yalis here. He's brewing a half pot of afternoon coffee for his happy hour. Mr. Excitement. I almost did coffee for today because it's been right now. I have the windows open to the apartment. Not windows, just one window. The one like directly across from me. I have it open to the apartment because it's hot. It's so hot in here. Everyone in here. I took the girls out for a walk during like lunchtime recess, and then when we got back, everyone was so tired. Except for the baby who is nap proof. She is like invincible against naps, but everyone else, well, my wife didn't, but anyone that could, basically me and my daughter, we fell asleep for a little bit because it was just got really warm, and we were watching. There's a marathon of like, it's not how it's made, it's food factories. It's called Food Factories on TV, and it just goes over like how like food is mass produced, and it's really soothing for me. Because in all those shows, they never let you know like how loud it is in a food factory. It just seems like it's really quiet, and it's just very repetitive and hypnotizing. So we all like my daughter and I kind of fell asleep for a little while, and then I was having a hard time shaking it. One of those naps, so I was like, I might need coffee for today. But now I'm ready. Now I'm ready for some beer. But I'm sure that the reason you're drinking coffee isn't because you're sleepy. So, Chris, I feel for you. Yeah. David Listone is here. Says, hey, what's going on? What's going on, David? When is that Fog Dog thing? David's been waiting for the Fog Dog premiere. I only just recently started watching Fog Dog videos. I've seen like one or two. But yeah, I know you've been waiting for that. It's tonight, isn't it? Or was it already? I don't remember. Will Fox is here. Good to see you, Will. And let's see. David Prabhu's here as well. Awesome. If anyone's new to the live stream today, welcome. There's not any structure. We're just hanging out, having some recovery drinks today for happy hour. And if you have any running questions, feel free to drop them in anytime. And if you don't have a question and you want to let us know where you're coming in from, if you feel like sharing that, I'd love to say hi to you guys. So welcome to anyone who's new. Right. Terrence says he's extra chatty today because lunchtime over here in the Pacific. So no work holding him back. Awesome. That's cool. Today I made lunch. I mean, we always have lunch, but I don't always make like a separate like cook for lunch. But today I made pizza for lunch, and the girl actually ate it. They've been really bad about eating lunch. Our like meal schedule has been really weird. Part of it is because we moved or just shifted locations on a long-term basis. But so there's that. But like I don't know. Like we haven't been eating lunches very well. I've been eating lunches fine. Like my girls haven't though. Part of it is like there's still that like lingering. We still have like baked goods from grandma. So like my mother-in-law made a whole bunch of baked goods from like Thanksgiving to like now. There's been like a just endless supply of delicious baked goods, from cookies to like breads and stuff like that. And so the girls kind of have been snacking on that all throughout the day, and they never want to eat lunch. Today I was like, we're running low on that stuff. So today I was like, I'm gonna make lunch. And they actually ate it. So we had a good lunch today. I made pizza. It was yummy. Jeff says, to be clear, this is Rocket Surgery. Yeah, Rocket Surgery Hazy Ale. There it is. Let's get it in focus. There it is. And it's really good. I wouldn't call it juicy, but that's how it describes itself. And I don't know. I feel like Hazy Ale, something called Rocket Surgery Hazy Ale, can't at the same time call itself uncomplicated. I just think that's a weird like combination of words, especially like even hazy and uncomplicated don't really seem to go together for me. I mean, like unfiltered, it feels more like a farmhouse ale. Then uncomplicated is a word that seems to make sense. But I mean, I know like that's not what they mean when they're saying uncomplicated, but the descriptions are kind of all over the place on this beer, in my opinion. But I like it. It just is a little bit on the sweet side. It's just in that like family of beers that I kind of like a wheat-ish beer with a little bit of citrus-y hint to it. It's kind of stuff that I've been drinking. Let's see. Martha's here, and she says, pretty tired after being glued to the TV most of yesterday, with the exception of the live stream, but managed to get out onto the snowy trail. Awesome. Yeah, I did. I didn't get a chance to watch too much of the inauguration itself. But I did watch a lot of like I just had the TV on while a lot of the evening festivities were on, like all the musical acts, and like then there like Tom Hanks was there and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't really remember paying attention to any other inauguration. I remember watching Barack Obama's first inauguration. I mean, they don't do two inaugurations if it's a re-election, is it? Do they do that? I can't even remember now. But I remember watching that one. But then I don't remember I just feel like after that, then it becomes very closed off and private. It's like, there's the balls and stuff. And it just seems like, oh yeah, okay. Like rich and powerful people, like having a dance. Like, that's not that interesting. This seemed very different. And I hope that it sets a trend for future presidencies to, it felt more inclusive in terms of like, this wasn't like, great, we did the swearing in and now like you'll get some photos later of all the expensive gowns and the tuxedos and stuff in the morning news for tomorrow. I like it. I like this where there was like performances and celebrations kind of like throughout the evening that were intended for everyone, for the public to watch. And so I just felt like this is how it should be. We should be able to celebrate it all together. So I think that was cool. And I was just trying to think of like, if this was a Trump inauguration, it would have been like very different in terms of the evening festivities. And I was like, that's just going to be one of many contrasts for the next couple of years. But I did end up watching a lot of TV yesterday. Some of the songs were really good, but then some of those I like part of some of the programming that was on yesterday. Like you could tell like which parts were like pre-recorded and then they like green screened on to there was just parts that were just like really weird that I was just like, this seems very like artificial for some of the performances. And the other ones that seemed to be more that weren't pre-recorded, I tended to like those a lot more. But I felt bad for everyone because I was like, it's got to be a little chilly in DC tonight. Hey, Greg's here. What's going on, Greg? He's loved our dog so much. I got a half sleeve tattoo in his honor. Got another one soon after. Awesome. Well, that's cool. One of my good buddies, they have a little Shih Tzu mix, and it's Shih Tzu mix named Yoshi, and he's got a giant tattoo of this little like fluffy furry dog on his arm. It's giant. And he's also got tattoos of his kids' faces on it. So it's like two children's faces and a puppy. It's a very interesting shoulder. Jeff Howells is here. He just ran some speed work, 4x8 and 4x4. Ooh, that's a lot of work. Good work out there. I'm still only in the pre-show chats. I'm going to scroll down on the bottom. Sorry, guys. I'm really far behind. All right. And Martha says about like the difference in terms of the programming for last night. She says it was a nice change over the inaugural balls, which were a money-making venture 4 years ago. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I feel like the last inauguration, it was about like how much can you charge a plate, whereas yesterday was not even about the inaugurees. How refreshing. Yeah. I felt like yesterday, if we're going to think of it as like in a running metaphor, yesterday was our recovery day. You know what I mean? There's a lot of work to come, but you need to have like that cutback week. You need to have the recovery day. You got to get the blood flowing again, get refreshed, recharged, so you can work further, going deeper into the marathon plan. So that's kind of yesterday. That's definitely how I felt. It was like an emotional rest day, active recovery for me. So it was pretty cool to watch, I thought. All right. Jeff A says, yeah, there is a second inauguration. That's what I kind of thought. Yeah. And what's funny is inaugurations are like a nostalgic time for my wife, because she was in marching band in high school, and she played at Clinton's, I think, first inauguration. So she was like in one of the bands. They invite bands from all over the country, and there's like all these performances. So like every inauguration, like photos circulate on Facebook. I mean, I don't have Facebook anymore, but she always tells me about it. That all the photos are circulating again. So it's an interesting time always in our house. All right. Angry Barrow says, just got alpha flies. I love them, but the insole is cutting into my foot and the insole is glued. What can I do to move them? I mean, you can take them out if you want to, and then like dislodge the adhesive. I don't, for the most part, that usually doesn't destroy the insole. I mean, it might, just because those on the alpha flies are just really tacked down. You might have a hard time removing it in one piece. But I know like there's other shoes where like the insoles are like, I don't know. That could be one thing. You could try to like remove them if it's cutting into your foot. Because if it's cutting into your foot, it's not doing any good. So you might want to cut it out anyway. So you could try and remove them and put in an aftermarket insole, or just put another aftermarket insole in on top of it if you've got room in there. Try to get like the thinnest one you can. I think those would probably be your only options. All right. Looks like Dr. Josh is in here. Good to see you. Let's see. Rob Neal today is drinking a coconut vanilla pastry stout after a super easy 6K shakeout. God, that's a lot of words. Coconut vanilla pastry stout. So it's like a sweet and bitter. That sounds like a milkshake, basically. I don't know. It sounds pretty good. All right. We got Alexis DiPrato coming in with a super chat. Thank you, Alexis, so much. Asks, what is your favorite running shoe of all time? My favorite running shoe of all time is the Nike Pegasus 33 Shield. It has a lot of sentimental value for me. It was a pretty good year for the Pegasus overall, but is the first winter that it was the first time that I ran all year round. I didn't take like a giant break in the wintertime. And so before then I was usually like after like the hot chocolate 10K that would happen, or 15, I think it's 15K. After like the hot chocolate 15K in like late October, or was it November? Then I was usually kind of like, oh, I'm done. I'll wait until it gets warm again. Don't be insane and try to run in the snow. One year I decided I was going to try to do that, and the Pegasus 33 Shield helped me do that. So that one I just really, really enjoy. I think it looked great. It felt great to run in, and it just did everything I needed to. Troy Argenbright says, have you thought about getting Kofuzi tattooed on you? I have not. I don't have any tattoos. So if I were to do a tattoo, that probably wouldn't be it. I mean, I've thought about getting a variety of different tattoos over the year, but I feel like at this point, I'm 40. Do I need to is this like at the time to start? That being said, like it seems like a lot of my in-laws are starting to get tattoos. So, and they're all like kind of around my age. So it's like, a lot of people getting tattoos in this family. And then some of my nieces and nephews are getting tattoos too. So it's like, yeah, everyone's getting tattoos around here. What's up with that? But I don't know. I don't know if tattoos are really for me. Yeah, but probably not. I feel like, having like a t-shirt with my own name on it is kind of, seems kind of narcissistic. I like to wear a t-shirt with your name on it. Seems weird at times. I feel like having a tattoo with my name on it would be, that's not my name. So, it's not as weird, but I don't know. Probably not. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. All right. Martha says, what instrument does your wife play? I've had a lot of former students who have worked in the DC military band. She was a saxophonist. And so, yeah, she keeps trying to get me to enjoy jazz music. I don't think I'm intelligent enough to enjoy jazz. Although I've been listening to a couple of different YouTube like jazz musician channels, and I'm like, I don't know, this isn't terrible. But like in Chicago, there's Jazz Fest and there's Blues Fest. or two big like street festivals that happen. Well, I guess they're not really street festivals. They're bigger kind of like festivals that happen in the city. I love Blues Fest. I am not a huge fan of Jazz Fest. So that's something that I think we'll probably, work on. Once it's possible to go and to listen to live jazz music, I think I would really like to do that. I mean, blues music as well, something I really want to do. But so she played the saxophone for all throughout high school. Her sister played the piccolo, and she was in college marching band. And then her brother played it wasn't the tuba, it wasn't the baritone, was it? I don't know, something that's kind of like tuba-ish, a giant brass instrument in the marching band. I don't think he only played that in high school. I played the trumpet until like middle school, and then I kind of gave it up. But I did take piano lessons for a really long time. So yeah, there's times where I'm like, I wonder if I kind of stuck with that, what would have happened? But I didn't love it. It was a lot of work, and I didn't love it. So it just wasn't for me. No, not a trombone, not a French horn. I want to say it was like a sousaphone, but I don't think it was that giant one. I don't think it was what is it? The baritone. It has the same valves as a trumpet, but it's bigger. I don't think it was that either. I'll have to ask him what he played in the marching band. But it was a giant instrument. Yeah. My all of my wife's family, they insist that in their high school it was cool to be in marching band, and I always like the only people who I know all are in this family and were in marching band, so I'm not sure I can really take your guys' word for it. But they were all in it, and they all have really good experiences from it. And when they talk about it, it makes me wish like maybe I should have stuck that out and should have kept playing. So I don't know. It wasn't a euphonium. You guys are awesome. Cornet, armpit. Steve76 says, I think I could play the triangle thingy if I YouTube it. Yeah, I mean, is there a technique to it? I mean, I feel like there's two ways to play it. One is like the like you see like in the like orchestra, like the ding, like it happens like there's like one note at the end of the entire, it's like the stinger, like bump ba bump 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 ding, like there's that. And then there's the other one that's like then there's like come and get it triangle. Those like there seems to be no in between for the triangle. Martha says sousaphones are giant. It's really a wraparound tuba. Baritone is a smaller tuba. Maybe it was I think maybe it was a baritone. It might have been a tuba. It was either a baritone or a tuba. I'm going to say it was one of those two. Jody says, my older brother played the trumpet, and we were banned from playing an instrument that was loud. Oh, funny. Charlie Ironbright wants to know if it was a guitar. That'd be great. I have been like thinking like, well, I did take like classical piano lessons for a really long time, but I never had the opportunity to play a guitar. Like, I wonder if that would come to me, if that would work. But then I was also thinking like, don't they have like there's a weird hybrid instrument that's like a keyboard, and also you blow into it, and I don't know whatever that is. It seems to me like a weird accordion, but accordion is another instrument that I wish I knew how to play. I feel like that'd be a fun one to play, actually. Jay Palankin wants to know about, was it band camp? I went to a band camp when I was really young, like 7th or 8th grade. I was pretty into it at the time. And then after that, like once I got to high school, I was like, I don't got time for this. But I don't know. Maybe I should have stuck with it. Rob Neal says, I live in Latvia from Texas, but I'd say 70% of the people here learn an instrument in school. If everyone plays a sport in school in the States, everyone plays something here. Bizarre world. Yeah. I think that like it concerns me that it seems to be something that in the US we're losing more and more of, is like people playing instruments. Now I feel like my main reference is my sister-in-law, because she has kids that are like my kids' age, and some that are a little bit older, so I can kind of like get a gauge of like what's coming down the pike from her. and from her family's experience. And it seems like there's still a pretty strong influence to have music in school. But I know, like in the Chicago public school system, it seems to be something that they're constantly just like threatening to kill off. So it does concern me a little bit. Jeff Elliott says, I've spent the entire pandemic not learning to play the guitar that is sitting right next to me right now. Oh, that's funny. In our house, we have a guitar that I haven't played in. I don't think I've played that thing since we moved into this apartment like a dozen years ago. And we have a ukulele that I bought for my daughter when she was a baby. And it just kind of like makes noise every once in a while. Like the kids just like hack at it for a little bit. But this morning, the baby asked me if I could like play it. So I like tuned it for the first time in years, and I just started playing a little bit on it. It's missing a string, so it's not quite sounding. I mean, it's a borderline toy ukulele that with only 3 strings sounds even more like a toy ukulele. But maybe it's something we'll get going. Jennifer Herring loves the xylophone. That's a fun instrument. You ever watch xylophone videos on YouTube? Some of them are really good. I mean, that's something. That's a rabbit hole you can go down for sure. Martha says there isn't a designated triangle player in orchestras. Percussionists have to play a bunch of instruments. That makes sense. And only the timpanists are specialized. That is an instrument that I think would be super fun to play. I think I would really enjoy that. All right. Ina says, the Lidstones are doing a 1K time trial soon. We need to get some warning and make sure the video gets lots of views. All right. You guys have to let me know when that is. Jennifer, I don't know if you heard the doggy in the background. He was dry heaving. He was just barfing. He wasn't throwing up, but like that's his just usual MO. If he's not shaking his ear, he is like just hacking. I don't know why he does that. Yeah, Tony Vu says for the music, it's probably the first thing to get cut during budget cuts. I think it usually is. I think it's a shame. Yeah, Martha says music in school gets cut before sports, which also get cut sometime. That's for sure. Affluent Journey's got the pink Audios 5 for $30 at Ross. Oh, $30. Oh man. I mean, the Audios 5 was a hard shoe for me to run in. I mean, that one you got to be a pretty talented runner. I felt like it was hard. It was kind of like drive. I mean, I equate it to like someone that's able to drive a car with like sport mode and like, the ABS systems on and skid control on and stuff, and then turning all that off and still being able to drive very quickly. Someone that's able to do that, that level of talent, I feel like the equivalent runner, I feel like, is the person that runs in the Audios 5. I tried running in it, but like there's just not enough underfoot for me. And all of my mistakes in terms of my foot strike and my gait seem to get brought to the forefront. But $30, that's an amazing price. Rob Van Spouwen says, could you explain the difference between speed run and a tempo run? I mean, speed run, I feel like doesn't really mean much to me. It seems more like a generic term. A tempo run to me, that's another room that's pretty generic and people use it to mean a lot of different things. For me, when I hear the word tempo, I think what people are meaning is that they're running at their threshold pace. And the threshold pace is kind of like a physiological kind of like switch over. Right at that point, it's when your body starts to go very anaerobic. And so people like to run at tempo pace or really slightly below it to train your body to take in as much oxygen as it can and clear out everything from it, all like the waste products from your system as quickly as it can. So that's why people do those runs. So that's why that's what I think when people do that. So what speed run is, if someone was like, all right, Thursday, we're doing a speed run, I wouldn't really know what that means. If someone was like, Thursday, we're doing a tempo, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what that means. It's a feeling for me. I mean, people explain it as like comfortably hard or whatever. But for me, it means a pace that you could hold for 45 minutes to an hour. But at the end of that, your legs would be dead. So kind of like you could give yourself as many gels and drink as much sport drink as you want, but like your legs would just be shot because you've used up everything that's in your system. So it's a hard pace. It's a hard pace to keep up, but it's not 5K pace. It's not mile pace. So it's a little bit different than that. For me, I can tell when I've hit it. When I'm running right under threshold. I'm feeling like I'm working hard, but I'm feeling it mostly in the chest. Once I go a little bit harder than that, and usually it happens like if there's an uphill or if I've kind of like get distracted and start going a little bit faster than I need to be, usually when there's an uphill, the tension that I feel starts to move down further, like towards the diaphragm. That one for me is when I know, okay, I'm going after it a little bit too hard. Like a different like system has been engaged. It's kind of feels like. So that's the tempo run. That's the threshold. Now, some people use tempo run to mean like anything that's, you know, a little bit faster than easy. So like a little bit faster than moderate maybe. So some people will say that too. And that kind of makes more sense to me because then why have different words for tempo versus threshold? But yeah, but for me, I would call that more like a moderate effort, or maybe you're running at marathon pace, you know, that kind of thing. So speed run, I'm not sure. Tempo run, that kind of has a definition, but even that might need more explaining. Will Fox wants to know, what is my 5K time? It's like 1940 something, 1943 is like my chip time. And then I think I've hit I think I've done faster than that as a time trial, but that doesn't really count. Chris says a speed run is juicy and a tempo run is an actual measurable data point. I could see that. Yeah. Stevie76 says, how do you become a poet laureate? I don't know, but it sounds like a pretty, I mean, it's like, I feel like that's something that's like, how do you become an artist in residence? That's something pretty cool too. I would like to have either of those jobs. Runner Dre says, when I was a tutor in the Boston area, there were programs to help supplement the loss of music programs. The kids loved when music came to their school. It was at least weekly, though not enough. Ah, man, that's a shame to hear that. But I'm glad that there was stuff like that available, at least to give some access. Mr. Random wants to know, Kofuzi, do you pick the music for your videos first or film footage, then look for the music after? I don't look at the footage first, but I kind of know what the footage is because I've thought about it kind of usually as I'm filming it. So like if it's a workout day, then I'm probably going to want, you know, that kind of narrows it down in terms of what kind of music I want. If it's a easy day, then that also might change it. Or if like I get out there and there's an incredible sunrise, that's going to change it a little bit too. So I have an idea already going in before I really looked at the footage, and then I'll kind of, based on what I'm trying to say, then pick some music to go with it. There's occasion where I'm like, now that I've actually looked at what I have, this music doesn't fit. That does happen from time to time, but generally, like I have an idea going in of what the footage is because I've already shot it. Then I pick the music and then I start editing it and putting it together. So that's generally my process. Ryan probably wants to know, did I get the Mach 4s when I got home to Chicago? They weren't here, but neither was the Carbon X2. But the Carbon X2 just arrived yesterday or 2 days ago at where we were in Iowa. So I thought they were going to be here, but they were actually just got to me in Iowa over there. So my mother-in-law is going to be sending them to me. So I'll be getting the X2 soon. And then I'll probably pick up the Mach 4 after that. So we'll see. But I don't have a pair of them with me now. So it's a little bit of a bummer. I thought I was going to have some. Sean Marshall says, threshold was always a more descriptive word for me than tempo, which is very vague. Yeah, I mean, because like some people will say like, yeah, my big workout before I do, you know, for a marathon, you know, everyone has their different like marathon readiness test. And I feel like there's like a Runner's World program. I think it's Runner's World. Where it's like your last big workout is like a 13-mile tempo. And I'm like, a 13-mile tempo, like those two words don't go together in my mind unless you're running like a 65-minute half marathon. Like it just doesn't make sense. So like that person means tempo means something that's not threshold. for me, because it's disconnected from like the physiological component, like you're saying, Sean. So I guess tempo can mean something else. See, that's why I always think like tempo should just mean like, some people would put the word up in front of it and write up tempo, but then up tempo seems like it should be faster than tempo. So it seems like it should be tempo, up tempo, threshold. But people aren't, people don't think about it that much, I think. Let's see. All right. Nico Phillips wants to know, would I run the Air Chenoy 3100 race in New York? I'm not familiar with that event. So I can't comment on it. Is it a 3,100 mile race? Is that the one that's run around like that one block? It's like a single block in New York, and you run it for like some people run it as short as 60 days. Is that what it is? I'm not sure that that's for me. Mark Chancoco says up tempo sounds like a Nike basketball shoe. There might be a Nike basketball shoe called the up tempo. Jeff Howell says, over the years, track workouts always consist of various length intervals from 200s to 1200s. Why are 200s the magic minimum length? I've never seen a track session that included 100s. 200s suck, by the way. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think that something that the reason why 200s are a popular one is because it's something that people can do in a relatively short amount of time. So it's under a minute for most people when they're doing their speed workout. And I think for like pros, it's going to be closer to like the 30 seconds. So like it's the equivalent of someone else doing strides. It's like 200s is a little bit longer than strides for pros. So I think that's why pros are doing the 200s, because then it's like something you do that's short. You're working on turnover, but it's not going to be taxing the body like a huge amount, even if you're doing like a ton of them. So I've been looking at some different like cycling, not that I've been looking at workouts, but like some of the YouTube videos I've been watching have been discussing different cycling workouts that are, I forget the name of it, the researcher that has it, but it's basically like 13 by 30, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and you do 3 sets of those. The idea is that you're doing VO2 max work and training your system to work at VO2 max and become efficient at VO2 max. So you're increasing your velocity at VO2 max is the goal, without it having to like extremely tax the system as if you're doing like the equivalent like single amount of work. So it's not as rigorous on the body or as demanding on the body as like if you were doing like 5K time trials every week, but you can do like some of those types of workouts with lots of 200s of them every week. And you're still getting a bunch of VO2 max benefit without like trashing your legs. So I think that's why the 200s are really common. Whether people that when they started writing those 200s thought about that, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that they realized that that's what it was doing. So I think that's why 200s come up a lot. I mean, I would tend to say that I normally don't do 200s, but like today I did some strides. So 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And I mean, I'm not running 200 meters because I'm not that fast. I was running, like, I looked at it, I was like 0.08 miles. So like a tenth of a mile is what? That'd be like 160 meters. So I'm doing closer to like a 150 maybe, or 140. So that makes more sense for me in terms of my level of fitness and my skill set. But I think there are track sessions that have hundreds, but they're not called hundreds. They're called strides. Yeah. Yeah, and Martha says, my coach assigns those shorter intervals by time instead of distance, even on the track. So 20 seconds up being close to hundreds, maybe 200 pop because you sprint half the track and recover the half. Yeah, I think that's it. There's literally a circularity to it, but like there's a nice roundness to the numbers. Yeah, and Lidzone says like the pros would usually do 200s, 24 to 30 seconds. The dog's getting feisty. 24 to 30 seconds, and then do it at the end of a session for some speed stuff. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that until I was watching some seminars that like Tin Man, I forget his name, but Tin Man of Tin Man Elite was talking about it, where he was like, yeah, I don't know if periodization makes sense anymore. I feel like that's an antiquated idea. And I was like, what? I like periodization. But he's like, I don't know if periodization makes sense. I feel like you're leaving a lot on the table, because you could do a workout. He's like, you could do a workout where you're doing, lactate threshold work or anaerobic threshold work. And then at the end of it, slide in a couple of these 200s or strides and get a little bit of VO2 max workout in there. You're taxing different systems. It's not as hard on the body. You can still recover really quickly. So I like to have like a workout with longer chunks in the beginning, a lower heart rate, a longer rest, and then smaller intervals at higher heart rate, higher intensity. But like, so, I mean, I've been seeing that pop up a lot more. It kind of goes against my general preference against having really complicated workouts, but it's definitely people that are much smarter than me are like, that's the way to do it. So it's something that I've been kind of looking into. But yeah, shorter stuff. But I agree more with like what Martha was saying is like, I mean, for pros, I think the 200 makes a lot of sense, because you're able to do it in like, I think the right amount of time. But for, non-elites, it's going to take me a little bit more than 24 to 30 seconds to do a 200, especially if I'm doing more than one. So yeah, so that's something a little bit different. Teddy Man Tactico is here. He says he likes the live streaming. Awesome, good to see you again, Teddy Man. And Chris had a question, or it just jumped. He says, for faster paced work, should my recover interval be the same distance as the fast portion, or the same amount of time it took me to run the fast portion, or some other time/distance? I've been playing around with that a lot, and I like doing the same amount of time. I mean, I've done workouts where, and this is something that I'm really playing around with, because I remember for some previous marathon training blocks where I didn't really have too much structure in it, and I structured my workout over what makes it easy for just like data collection. So I would have like a long run with some marathon miles, a recovery mile, some more marathon miles, a recovery mile. And I really wasn't thinking of it in terms of like, what are the rests? I wasn't thinking about it that closely. But lately I've been looking at a lot of workouts where the recovery is the same amount of time as the work phase. With a max usually at about like 2.5 to 3 minutes. And so that's something that I've also kind of been looking at. So for a lot of workouts that are prescribed by like work and rest, it seems like the maximum that the rest periods tend to get is about like 2.5 to 3 minutes between reps. Now then there's like a longer rest that I've seen between, if you're doing like sets or like batches of work, where it could be up to 10 minutes in between. So like that 13 by 30 seconds cycling workout I was talking about, the way that's designed is like 13 by 30 seconds on and off. So you're working for 13 minutes, then you're relaxing, like easy pedaling. Is that what they call it? Easy pedaling for 10 minutes, then another set of 13, 10 minutes rest and that. So there can be longer rests in there. This weekend, I'm going to play around with a run where I just do kind of like a mile off and 2 miles on at marathon pace, just to see like, and not a terribly long run. It's just to kind of like play around with like, what if I make all the rests long? Like, what does that do? And I've been kind of like toying around with that idea, trying to figure out, like, I know I've done that before and it seems to have worked for me well before, but what is there like a scientific reason, or was I just getting better because I was running more at the time? So I don't know. But generally, I would say, to answer the question without the large ramble, I would say same amount of time. Not the same. I think the same amount of distance can make it long. So when people say like, run a 200, jog 200 recovery, I feel like that's way too long. So I could see that there might be a point for that if what you're trying to do is get like max effort for each 200 and give your body way enough time to be able to run extremely hard. But if you're trying to, the reason why the recoveries are short for a lot of those like strides type of reps is because you want to keep the heart rate high. So that way you can very quickly get back up towards max heart rate if you're trying to work on anaerobic work. So that's why you would do like some of those shorter reps. But generally people do like, if it's 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off. That's what I think. Not really. Garen wants to know, does Kofuzi eat pancakes? Yes. Assuming that's not some sort of slang. If we're talking literally about pancakes, yes. In fact, this morning we had Kodiak cakes, the cupcake in a cup. I found that the baby loves those, and she'll eat them. She does a pretty good job eating them, but she never finishes it. So it's a win-win, because then I get her to eat like a real breakfast, and then I get to have some of the leftovers. TJ, I'm going to say TJ Wouse says, how come you moved to Iowa from Chicago? For space. And to be around less people. We rebubbled with my in-laws, so that's why we were there. Here, we were living in a high-rise, and in the early days of it, people even in Chicago like weren't taking it seriously, so we'd be outside and in the elevators, and people wouldn't have masks on and stuff. And I was like, this is just way too many people. It was way too close. The girls didn't really like it. All the playgrounds were closed, museums were closed, the park was closed. So like everything that we did outside the apartment was closed. And kind of like the way you see, I kind of like think about city life is like you tolerate a much smaller place in your home because you rely on everything else for your activities. And so when all the activities shut down and go away, now you just have a house that's too small. And so we went over there. We had a yard. My mother-in-law bought a swing set. We went on hikes in the Iowa State and county parks. So it was my mother-in-law bought. I mean, she usually gets one every summer, but she definitely had it up a lot longer because my girls were there. She gets like these not the little like plastic kiddie pools, but the giant inflatable ones. So we'd have that so the girls could play in the water. And then when it snowed, we were playing in the snow. So lots of fun. It was a lot easier on the girls to do that. They could just go outside and not have to put on a mask anywhere because they were on, my mother-in-law's property. Out here, as soon as we get out the door and in the hallway, we have to put on a mask. So that was the main reason. Sean Marshall says, do you guys find that steps correlate to kilometers pretty directly? I know it depends on cadence, but for me, 5,000 steps almost always equals 5K. Does it really? That's amazing. I don't think mine does. I'll have to look at that. I've never really looked at it too closely, but I don't think you must be like the exact like right height and like stride length for that to work. Crazy. David Gutierrez is here late, but he's here. What's going on, David? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Tony Vu says, I read an article recently that the distance is just trying to correlate a ratio of work time to rest time. Depending on the speed of the runner, 200 meters can be 2-to-1 or 1-to-1. Yeah, and like it's something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and I think that we talked about it a couple of days ago. And like just today, for example, I was looking at like there are two things that I feel like paces and distances don't give. That I mean, I guess they do for the individual runner, but like when you're like on Strava or you're looking at someone else's workout and it's like, mile repeats, you're like, well, what was the rest? How fast were the mile repeats? Like those are things that like I feel like are like if you're going to tell me you're doing mile repeats, you got to tell me the rest of the sentence. Like I need to know like the other half of the information. So like yeah, I think that like these days I think that coaches will probably start writing more workouts in terms of time on and off, because I think that makes a lot more sense to a lot of people. And it's a lot, I mean, for me, if I'm doing a threshold workout, a threshold mile for me is somewhere like a little bit under 7 minutes a mile. And so like, I'd rather do like 7 minutes on, 3 minutes off. That sounds like, oh, like that's a nice way to break up 10-minute chunks. But if the workout is listed as like, 6 times like 6 mile repeats, that seems like a lot of work, so I like that. And maybe it's just like the novelty of it makes it less daunting, but I also think that it just makes it seem more specific. Then like the rest makes a lot more sense. It helps me to create plans a little bit better. So I kind of like that. So it makes sense. But I was looking at the one thing I want to talk about was like I was watching Ali Ostrander's channel earlier today, and like she did a tempo or she did like a fartlek workout, and it was like 5.5 minutes at a certain pace and then 3 minutes of recovery. But her recovery pace was only like 30 seconds slower. So like the workout was like 5.5 minutes at like 5:45 to 6 minutes per mile. So basically a mile repeat, a mile like segment, and then 3 minutes of recovery. And the recovery was like at 6 to 6:20 per mile. So I'm like, that's not much of a recovery. But I mean, she is a professional runner. So like that workout is insane. And it was at altitude, but like, I'm like, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I don't know how fast she can run. Is that a threshold? Are those threshold repeats? Or is that even easier than threshold? So I was trying to like get a gauge for like, yes, these numbers are like super impressive, unimaginable to me. But like for a pro, what is this a threshold day? So I had a hard time kind of like figuring that out. And so, I think that like as more of us in the running community, I think, get more sophisticated and start understanding these more, hopefully we'll start getting more and more information from pros to see like, what they're doing. I know a lot of pros still like to keep that close to the vest, but I feel like that's going to be an old school thing that like, a handful of pros will be able to get away with, but I think the vast majority of people are going to have to start sharing what they're doing so we can like, it's kind of like that joke about the Olympics when you watch Olympic swimmers, you're like, you have no idea how fast these people are really going. I'm like, I wish I was like a regular person in lane 8 so I could see just how incredible these swimmers are. But like, I think in the future, like if the workouts are like, yeah, I did like a total of, an hour of threshold work today over my reps, that's impressive. I mean, I know you're going to run fast because you're a professional and it's a completely different universe than what I exist in. But like, no matter what, because there's a biological component to it, if you're doing a total of like 40 minutes to an hour of threshold work, that's a lot of work. And so that's like, hopefully we'll start to get more of that. Let's see. Where's something about 80-20 a question a second ago? Jeff Howell says, "Did you keep your apartment during your hiatus, Iowa?" Yeah, I mean, this is our condo. I call it the apartment because when my wife and I first lived in this building, it was apartments. But then when it converted, we moved somewhere else for 2 years, 2 years, and then this building converted to condos, and so we own the place. Yeah, so we kept it since we haven't sold it. Let's see. There's a question early that I scrolled by and then I missed it. Where'd it go? While I'm here, let's say hi to Matt. Matt's a first timer here. Says from just outside Boulder, fitness is in a good place and about to start a training block for a half. I've been around 35 to 40 miles per week. Is that enough? I'd say it depends on your goals in terms of whether that's enough. I think that for most people, for your first half marathon, I mean, if you've been running 35 to 40 miles a week, finishing the race isn't something that I'd be concerned about for you. I think you're going to be definitely fine there. It just depends on like what your expectations are in terms of how well you're going to do. So like I would probably look to, I mean, you said fitness is in a good place. I think it is if you're running 35 to 40 miles for the week. So I think that's good. But like, I would also look at a plan that probably has you, peaking at a little bit higher than that before you taper for your race. So you can find different training programs to kind of like cater to whatever your level of fitness is. And I wouldn't really like, if you've been normally at 35 to 40, if you have time before that training block starts and you want to increase the mileage, that's something to do. I think before you start the training plan, I feel like whatever your averages are at once you start the training plan, that's where you shouldn't be trying to like train for a race and increase mileage at the same time by a significant amount. I mean, I know that some people do like 20-week training plans. That's a different story. But like if it's a shorter training plan, you're kind of like your mileage is already kind of set. But I think that 35 to 40 is a great number that a lot of people can do really well in the half marathon with. All right. Where is that? I'm trying to find that one. There was a question up here earlier. I think it was about 80-20. Oh. Yeah, Vegan Runner says you'd like 80-20 code. Lots of the workouts are structured like that. I mean, I've read Fitzgerald's book on it, and I've been thinking a lot about it in terms of like true polarized versus what they call like the pyramidal scheme, where and I think that for me and like kind of where my strengths are, I'm not sure like true polarized where it's like zone 2 and zone 5 only really work well for me. From like a mental like confidence perspective too, I just have a hard time being successful with that, I think. So like I've been kind of thinking, well, maybe I need to do more work at a threshold. So like zone 2 and like zone 4, zone 3 to 4, high 3, 4. So like it's still 80-20 in the sense of like the division between easy and the not easy, but like how hard is the hard? I'm kind of rethinking and reevaluating a lot of that. All right, let's do, it's almost 4 o'clock. Let's do one more and then we'll get going for the day. Yeah, Benoit says, I also find it confusing. You have a different word for an apartment that you own. Yeah, I mean, condominium sounds really weird. So I just call it apartment. It gives you an idea that it's a unit in a much larger building. So in a multi-unit dwelling. So that's kind of like the main gist of it. But yeah, we own most of it, I guess, at this point. We've been paying the mortgage on it for a long time. So, I mean, we don't technically own it. We have a mortgage on it. But yeah, I mean, it's our place. So this is where we live. So yeah, I know that can be confusing, but yeah, I'm just so used to calling it an apartment. I don't know why. All right. Sorry about that. I think that's going to be it for today, everybody. Tomorrow's video, I have a new pair of earbuds that are really weird. I'm still not really sure what to think of them, but I'm going to make the video about them tomorrow. And then we'll do another live stream, same time, 3 p.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube. Hopefully I'll see you guys then. I had a great time today. Hopefully you guys did too. And until I see you guys again, be safe out there. Thanks.